Time is now to get the family treatment at OhioRoofingandSiding.com.
The night that they're going to have the most eyeballs, if it is something like that, then yeah, the whole thing was a political stunt.
All right, let's take some phone calls. A lot of you are calling in. A lot about this and also a lot about the UN. I need to make sure we take both of those because, like I said, the next segment we're going to hear from Rick Grinnell. Let's start with Deborah, who's asking about the UN, and then we'll move back to Jimmy Kimmel. We'll kind of bounce back and forth. Deborah in Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Hi. I think when I called, I was a little bit confused between the UN and NATO, and they're not interchangeable, but somewhat they are. That if everybody is supporting the Palestinian state, which has no land and it has no people, but we're still supporting it, does that mean that the United States it's incumbent upon them to follow the Palestinians into war?
No, Deborah. So the difference with NATO, which has a military alliance, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, it has the details in that treaty of how this group defends itself. The United Nations is a diplomatic body. These nations that are recognizing a Palestinian state, they are essentially saying we will have diplomatic relationship with them. Many of them already had like a mission from the Palestinian Authority. Now they're going to upgrade it to embassy status, try to make it look more impressive than it is. But there is no obligation at all for the United States or even for the United Kingdom or France to actually do anything other than having diplomatic relations with a state that doesn't really exist and doesn't have a government. So that's all it means. It's more empty words on paper than anything.
Now let's bounce back to the Jimmy Kimmel conversation. Michael in Florida watching on YouTube. Line 4. Go ahead.
Gentlemen, with regards to Jimmy Kimmel, he still has the First Amendment right to have the freedom of speech. The issue becomes the avenue by which that is supported and or aired with ABC or Disney channels. The subscribers of that, who are the the channels locally that air it, also have a choice as to whether they want to air his viewpoints. So, it's not a freedom of speech issue.
Yeah, I think, Michael, that has been a ridiculous overreach that this was a freedom of speech issue. Now, if the FCC is coming down on you and a network is having to make that decision based on that, I think an argument can be made. But if we're talking about just an organization, if you have a boss, if you've decided to work for an organization that has a boss, guess what? The boss is going to make that decision. You are working for them. Now, what is weird is, and I'll be honest, because this is going to be a little bit of ACLJ pitches, we're fully independent. I was listening to one of my friends who's also fully independent, and he said, you know what? Sometimes it's nice to have that boogeyman boss because you'll rally behind those guys. But a lot of times you won't rally behind us independent sources, us sources that have no one telling us what we can and can't say, which is fantastic, by the way. Of course, YouTube could say that. They could deplatform us. Any of these can. We've had that hot conversation for many years. Thankfully, we have not. We've grown a massive audience there because they have at least turned the corner on free speech. But what was good for Jimmy Kimmel? What was good for Jimmy Kimmel was to have a bad guy. A lot of us out there, we are the only voice for the independent. And if you're the voice of the independent, you need to support those people. You need to support the people that are out there making these decisions, not based. If you're watching us on a network right now, they're not paying us. I'm just telling you that. Quite the opposite.
This is just coming out from Jim Jordan. This is great. Due to the oversight efforts in Congress, Google has committed to offer all creators that were kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. YouTube has admitted the Biden administration's censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong. That was real government overreach. We actually defended Charlie Kirk in Turning Point USA, representing them on a brief to the United States Supreme Court about this very issue, the censorship of their platform under the Biden administration. So once again, if you want to talk about free speech issues and the government pressuring people, look to the last administration, not this one, and we're going to keep fighting, but these are big wins.
Yeah, we'll keep that updated coming up. Next segment, Rick Grinnell's joining us. We'll be right back.
After nearly 50 years, Roe versus Wade, the tragic ruling that manufactured a so-called right to abortion, has been overturned by the United States Supreme Court. This is the moment the ACLJ has been fighting for. It's the biggest victory we've achieved in our 3-decade-long fight